Hello and welcome to my review of the entire Chaos Force from the Warhammer 40,000 Shadowspear box set. The box set will cost you £105. I've calculated that all of these models here in the Chaos Force will cost you more than the £105 that they're asking for the set. Of course, the downside is they are all monopose. You don't get any spare parts either. So if you buy multiple sets, they're either going to look the same or they're going to need heavy modifications, parts clipped off, green stuff added, things like that. Anyway, if you can't already tell, I'm a huge fan of all of these new Chaos models, way more so than the boring Space Marine Primaris models that came with the set. And to start off with, that wasn't the case. I was really interested in the Primaris stuff. You know, more Primaris Space Marines, you know, Inceptors with autocannons. Really interested. But my interest dwindled when I started building the kits and having them in my hands. I can see that every single one of these Chaos Space Marines is individual. There's just no duplicates whatsoever. The HQ is tall and has a lot of presence. The Obliterators are just overgrown Centurions with those flesh metal guns, and the Greater Possessed are just incredible, and I wish Games Workshop build on them and build some more. Of course, the Demon Engine, the Venomcrawler, such a lovely kit to build and to behold. Would you expect anything less from the company that brought you the Myphitic Blight Hauler and the vetted Blight drones as well? So what we'll do is we'll look at each unit individually first of all. I have done reviews of all of these now, and I like the models in this set so much that they actually became a catalyst for me to buy all of the new releases for the new Chaos. I've bought the Codex, I've bought Vigilus Ablaze, I've got Abaddon right here, absolutely stunning model, superb. And I've also bought the box set of Chaos Space Marines, and hoping to get the Lord Discordant, the Master of Executions, and the Dark Apostle. So this is what happens when Games Workshop release a box of two forces and a hobbyist likes most of the models of one of the forces. It motivates them to then start an army, a full army of that faction, and look forward to all of the new models in that release. So we'll have a look at the units individually first of all. I like to do a full review at the end of all the individual reviews of one of the forces in these type of box sets, because you get to see all of the models at once, all compared to each other in the set. And I wanted to keep this review separate from the new release review of all the models in the Chaos Space Marine new releases, separate, because they will have their own video and will include these as well in there. It's going to be a minimum of another 2 weeks before we have all of the releases in our hands, so I'm looking at about 3 weeks away that might happen. So I didn't want to prolong this any further. This set has been out for over 2 weeks now, so I wanted to bring you this as soon as I possibly can in amidst all of the other new Chaos reviews. So on the left we've got the Chaos Space Marines. Need I say more? Let's just enhance and zoom in rather than keep to this angle throughout the whole video. So there they are, absolutely stunning models. I really like the Aspiring Champion with this chain axe and the plasma pistol. Fantastic looking model. And if we can just zoom in a bit more, lots of detail on him, and a bit of almost a mini scenic base as well. So great start to that squad. Then we have this autocannon Space Marine. It's a shame it's not a Reaper chain cannon, of course, but still this guy just oozes the rule of cool, with a drum fed autocannon with a bit of a bayonet and a kind of scenic base. Then you're into a special weapons guy, which is in the form of this plasma gun wielding Chaos Space Marine. I love the spikes on his weapon. And then what they've done with this kit is they've focused on melee heavy. And what I mean by that is they've designed the models to have 4 chainsword and bolt pistol Chaos Space Marines, such as this guy, this guy, and this guy. As well as this one in the back. So they encourage you with that, with 4 of them. I've built my separate squad of 10 with mainly bolt guns for 4 of them, because this set has 4 of them with the chainswords. Then you get the 3 with the bolt guns, which are in your typical sort of stoic poses for Chaos Space Marines with bolt guns. This guy is having a little stroll about the battlefield. And then finally you've got this fella here, which is really cool because he's got a chain and a drum fed bolt gun with this combat blade. So that's the Chaos Space Marines in the set. Worth it just for them, in my opinion. They're new, they're in proportion, they're only a tiny bit bigger than a normal Space Marine, only a smidgen though. You wouldn't really tell when you've got them all on the battlefield, but there's a lot of detail in there. They're going to be absolutely amazing to paint, and they were a good sign of things to come. I can't recommend the individual box set of Chaos Space Marines enough. Yes, it's £35, but I think, as I've replied to a few comments, the previous box set of Chaos Space Marines was terrible. Good for the time, but that did come out in 2006, so 13 years ago, due for a complete upgrade and a bit of a price increase too. It's still cheaper than £30 for the 7 Plague Marines, which Games Workshop sell. As someone who has bought the Plague Marine set for £30 for 7 and enjoyed it immensely, I feel I need to mention that. Then we had the HQ, the Master of Possession. Need I say more? Such a cool, iconic figure. He is so cool that he features heavily on the box art and on the Daemonkin mini codex itself. He's got this flaming skull, lots of flaming skulls, loads of detail, leaping up, awesome power plant on the back. Just a huge amount of presence on him. And obviously Games Workshop have had a lot of experience now with making models that just glue onto the base via capes. Incredible HQ and a nice addition to the box set that works in harmony with any Demon engine as well. Then we have the 2 greater possessed models. They're right here, stabby and grabby. Absolutely incredible models. Great rules as well. Fun in combat. They're gonna be a thorn in your opponent's side. Big fan of these, and I would like to see more of them. I recently put a post up and asked the question in one of the videos which legion I should go for this new Chaos army. I kind of wanted to have them as Death Guard, but I understand you can't really do that unless you have them as a separate faction. So what I think I'm going to do is just have them as Word Bearers, and then have a force of Word Bearers and a completely separate army of Death Guard. My Death Guard army is pretty big. I'm not planning to make this army huge. I might paint the Rhino that I get with the Warhammer 40k Conquest in the next few issues this Word Bearers colour, but I need to look at some guides on how to paint Word Bearers pretty well. I think I did a good job on Nathaniel Garrow's base of a Word Bearer, but it also gives me an excuse to get Lorgar as well, another Primarch. But I will be painting Abaddon in Abaddon Black, as always. I went off on a tangent there, but what I meant to say is the attention to detail on these Greater Possessed is incredible, and they're a great addition. Would have liked to see 3 in the set rather than, you know, 2 and then 2 Obliterators and 10 and then 1 and then 1 Venomcrawler, but they're pretty elite, and they do have 10 wounds, you know, between them, and you can pick one for elite choice if you really wish. Moving on to the models at the back then, the two Obliterators. The only kind of experience I've had with them have been the old models, the old metal, and then the resin models that were Mutilators. I always thought that they looked a bit odd, the Mutilators, but I liked where Games Workshop were going in terms of the rules, being able to fashion guns and weapons out of their armour. And that's precisely what Games Workshop have decided to do with these ones. You've got a Storm Bolter there, a Multi-Melter, a Heavy Bolter, and a Plasma Cannon, I think it is, all protruding out of these, but rules-wise, they all count as just, they all come under the same weapon as flesh metal guns, which is brilliant. They are what they are. I mean, when I first set my eyes on them, I thought they were a bit small. I thought they were meant to be kind of, you know, Dreadnought size or Hellbrute size, but they are like mini Hellbrutes in a way. They're supposed to be Centurions that have been corrupted and changed, and that's why they've got these pistons, of which I was pretty critical of at the, you know, when I first reviewed them, when I first looked at them and reviewed them. But anyway, that's one Obliterator, and this one looks awesome. Maybe someone can convert this and rip off that chain cannon and equip it onto a Havoc to get two. But still, this one just has the heavy flame and the chain cannon. I think it is, but again, just counts as having flesh metal guns. So another kind of mini Hellbrute kind of model. Hopefully they'll bring out some new Obliterators or Mutilators as a separate plastic kit, but really fantastic two models, very individual too, probably the most individual models in the set in terms of differences, even though they are the same unit. And finally we come to the elephant in the room, or should I say spider in the room, this big Venomcrawler. It is a whopper. It's bigger than I thought it would be. It's bigger than a Myphitic Blight Hauler, so bigger than anything in the Dark Imperium set. This model will probably set you back 30, probably £35 if they were to sell it separately. It's fantastic spider. The only thing that draws my attention now is just this little plug, this little hole here, which I don't know what on earth it is. There's no part that's missing that you need to put in it, like a chimney, but that's the only kind of downside of this model. You sort of have to have him with this bit of scenery, but you could put a rock there or something and then just glue his back leg to the rock. He does have his 6 legs, and then these tendrils, and no doubt a couple of these will look really good together near the Lord Discordant as some kind of demon engine group of creatures. I think it actually looked quite good next to a Blight Hauler too, because a Blight Hauler has some kind of organic face going on. But yeah, the puny little guns on here are actually quite ferocious and do a fair bit of damage. He's an absolute monster in close combat as well, and can regenerate multiple times when he eats people, and just normally, just every turn, he can just regenerate. And he moves very quickly. He's a little scuttler, scuttles along the battlefield, eating things up. So if your opponent's got one of these, I'd try and take it out. More so than like the Obliterators or even the Greater Possessed. If you see one of these, take it out, because that can move fast and those weapons do a fair bit of damage, and you don't want to get him close to any of your vehicles. So another fantastic model in the set. So as you can tell, I'm a huge fan of all of these Chaos Space Marine models in the Shadowspear box set. If you can pick up the set with a 15-20% discount from a third party retailer, so for £80 or so, I think it's worth it just for these models. I'm not sure whether Games Workshop are going to release these separately. They kind of did with Dark Imperium, but it was a long time after, and they released them in easy to build kits which range from 15 to 20 odd pounds each. I would like to hope that they would release some kind of Venomcrawler separately, and the Master of Possession. They already released the Chaos Space Marine Chaos Space Marines as a separate box set, but it's great because they look totally different to these ones. I can't recommend the set enough, even just for these Chaos Space Marine models. But what I want to do is just spend a couple more minutes talking about all of their rules and how effective they are as a little army. Well, you've got the HQ choice there, the Master of Possession. You've got a troop choice, the Chaos Space Marines, an elite choice, the Greater Possessed, and 2 heavy support choices in the form of the Obliterators and the Venomcrawler. The army itself, power points cost-wise, will set you back 41 power points, about 720 points, give or take. So it's almost a 1,000-point army. You could add a few other units in there, such as another HQ unit, such as another squad of Chaos Space Marines, even put a Rhino there, maybe a squad of Havocs, or that Noctilith Crown, or a squad of Terminators, or one of those Lord Discordants. So there's plenty of options to increase the army size and build upon it. You're almost getting a 1,000-point army in a box with this set, and it's a very strong foundation to start a new Chaos Legion army. The Master of Possession himself is decent. He is a Psyker, so you can get used to pumping out psychic powers. His Right of Possession ability is lethal to enemy Psykers. His Force Stave is okay. I mean, you don't necessarily want him to be in close combat, you just want him to be manifesting those psychic powers every turn. But if he does get into close combat, he's going to be okay with a save of 3+ and a 5+ invulnerable, but try and keep him a bit away from the action. The Chaos Space Marines are great, but within the Daemonkin Codex you can only take them as 10 and not 5, like the Chaos Space Marine Codex. So this squad of 10 is very flexible, and I'd always get them moving towards an enemy. The autocannon is nice, but it's not really worth you staying 48 inches away just to get 2 shots at an enemy. You want to be moving these every turn to get the plasma pistol, the plasma gun, and all of those chainsword and bolt pistols in range. Those chainswords allow the Chaos Space Marines to make an additional attack, and if you've got 4 of them, obviously then that's going to be 8 attacks. So you want to be getting them into combat. They're not combat monsters by any means. They've got toughness 4 and 1 wound and a save of 3+, but they're going to be great for holding objective points and also taking them. The Greater Possessed are the second fastest unit in the force here. They've got a very good weapon skill, a save of 3+ and a 5+ invulnerable. Got a lot of wounds, a lot of attacks. They're high strength, high toughness. They have that locus of power, which makes them strength 6, and the demonic mutations are a nice AP -2 and a damage of D3. You want to be running them all the time towards your enemy. Try and keep them in cover though, so that they actually get there. The Obliterators are alright. They're quite expensive points cost wise. They're very slow at 4 inches, and their flesh metal guns are 24 inches. Again, you want to be getting them into close combat as quickly as possible, or at least in range of those flesh metal guns. Your opponent is probably going to try and pick them off from range with high strength weaponry or sniper rifles before they even get into range, because once you start taking them off the board, that's a big chunk of your force. However, Obliterators do have an ace up their sleeve. They have the best saves of the force, a natural save of a 2+ and an invulnerable save of a 5+, and their ace up their sleeve is their teleport strike. You can teleport them in, so you don't need to have them vulnerable a long way from your force to begin with. And finally we come to the Venomcrawler. It's a bit lackluster in the old weapon skill and ballistic skill, but it does have a nice 10 wounds, and it is the toughest of all of these units with a toughness of 7. It's the fastest unit too at 10-inch move, and those excruciator cannons means that it's got an effective range of 46 inches. It could possibly pump out 6 shots at strength 8, AP -2 and a damage of D3, and its eviscerating claws and soulflare tendrils are both pretty harmful in close combat. It's incredibly resilient in terms of regaining its lost wounds and regaining lost wounds if it eats people. It can also add 1 to the result of any demonic ritual summoning rolls made for the Master of Possession, but you do have to keep him within 6 inches of the Venomcrawler, and that might be a bit tough considering the Venomcrawler is faster. You also want it to explode and die close to your enemy, because it's got a nice 6-inch radius of inflicting up to 3 mortal wounds when it explodes. In the Daemonkin mini codex, you've got a selection of warlord traits that are specific to the Space Marine Psyker character, which in this case would be the Master of Possession, and also you can pick a load of psychic powers under the Malefic Discipline, which can range from regaining D3 lost wounds, bonuses for the possessed, armor penetration of the Psyker's own weapons are increased, improving invulnerable saves, and re-rolling hit and wound rolls of 1 made by friendly demon units. So lots of buffs that the Master of Possession has, and a decent number of warlord traits, which include knowing 1 additional psychic power, denying 1 additional psychic power, re-rolling psychic tests or deny the witch tests, increasing the range of smite, re-rolling 1s when taking psychic tests, and adding 1 to the strength characteristic, which could bump up his strength to 7, which is pretty nice. So it's worth looking into the detail of the Daemonkin mini codex to get the most out of this force. It's a great little force. It's pretty balanced. Unfortunately, there isn't a fast attack or transport or flyer option in the set. However, the Venomcrawler does have that range of 10 inches, and the Greater Possessed are a bit faster than everything else too. Personally, I would set the Master of Possession up near the Greater Possessed and maybe the Venomcrawler if possible. I would set the Chaos Space Marines up in the hope that they'd secure an objective, and I'd keep the Obliterators in ready for deep strike to then pop up at a crucial moment in the battle. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say about the Chaos Space Marine Daemonkin in the Shadowspear box set. What do you guys think of the models? What do you guys think of the rules? I'm a big fan, clearly. I will be doing a review of all the Primaris Space Marine models in all their lovely Phobos armour, but I'm definitely not as motivated for that video as I was for this. And it will be on the same format, so I'll release all of the Primaris Space Marine unit reviews one by one, and then it'll finish up with a review of all of those models, and then some while later there'll be a review of the entire set, including both forces. It would be quite close to the end of the Primaris reviews though. What do you guys think of the models and the rules? Put it in the comments below. It'd be great to hear from you. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. Death to the False Emperor.